He's got a pistol, and his bike has the...
You shoot the pistol, you can't take one or the other? Yeah. Okay. It's so dumb, but
that's fine. He's actually going to shoot his pistol.
Yeah.
Alright, moment.
Okay. Yeah, 6 wounds. I'm going to spend a CP to give him a 4 of it. T6.
Plus 1, 2.
Okay. 2 4-ups. I'm going to CP it. Alright.
That's not what I wanted. They're going to shoot here.
Losers.
Hey,
Go away.
Hey man, we're supposed to give me something? Or was I supposed to give you something?
I'm supposed to give you something.
Oh, okay, what is it? Oh yeah.
I don't have it.
Oh, I didn't think you did. Because I didn't say like, I didn't know I was coming up here today.
I'll take him on this guy with a grenade launcher, okay? Yeah, guy with a grenade launcher. So he'll have a 3 up. We're good. Okay. Alright. In there comfortably. Okay.
You draw a line of sight from the building.
Yeah. And your reroll ones failed. But you still got enough attacks. Still might not matter.
Spend my 1 to add 1 to the wizard.
Okay.
I was trying to ask my
Alright. 4 ups. Save 2. Yep. I need to make sure that I can still touch this. Consolidate. Alright, so Sergeant has 3. He's got 3, then plus 1 to his charge. The other guy's got this. I'm gonna hit on 2s because I sat still. Power swords, just regular ones. 2s. It'll be 6s all around. Because I'm he's T7. 6s all around. Right. So now, I think that is the end of your turn. I gain CP. I control 2 because they are offset.
And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Miniature Market second annual Games Workshop mini convention. I'm your host, Chandler Spradling, going to be bringing to you some of the events that are happening today. Praise the Omnissiah, as we have fought very hard against the forces of Vashtor to be able to bring you this live stream today. Despite several technical issues, we are here, we are live, and we are excited to be bringing you this content today. Starting off, if you look out on the camera, you will see that we have a Combat Patrol tournament going today. Combat Patrol is a format that focuses primarily on small skirmish engagements of about 500 points. The players in this tournament are playing with patrol detachments. They are not only limited in the points of models they can bring, but in addition, the kinds of models that they can bring due to the patrol detachment limitation. Right now, we're actually jumping in the middle of a game for the Raven Wing, the Dark Angels, my pride and joy, my army, though I am not the one playing. Definitely always happy to see the Sons of the Lion brought to the board, facing off against the Noble Salamanders, also green. We've got the Raven, well, I think he's actually running Green Wing technically, since the patrol detachment limitation does not allow him to run pure Raven Wing. So we've got the Green Wing versus the Salamanders, the boys, the good boys in green. We're going to be bringing to you a whole lot of different events throughout the day. Of course, we've got this Combat Patrol tournament that we'll be having running pretty much through the bulk of the day, but we also have a speed paint tournament coming up, and I'm going to be doing interviews with some of our tournament organizers and some of our event organizers today to learn a little bit more about some of the other games that Games Workshop has to offer, including Wrath and Glory. We're probably going to hear a little bit from the Underworld's crew, a little bit about Kill Team, and then we're also going to bring over one of the event organizers from the Manchester Miniature Market store, who's going to talk to me a little bit about the community that he's hoping to foster and kind of events that are going to be going on at Manchester coming up. So looking forward to be bringing you this content today. And if you're tuning in chat, always make sure to give me a shout out and I will probably answer your question. Taking a look at the board, like I said, we are dropping in right now, kind of in the middle of a game. So you can see that the Green Wing, the Raven Guard, are reduced right now to that last signature land speeder that they've got, as well as a couple intercessors, whereas the Salamanders have kind of tanked up in the back. It is a pretty even game, at least as far as kills go. I am curious to see what the score is. Definitely we'll have an update for you shortly. Looking forward to doing the speed painting contest. What we will be doing with the players is that the contestants will all be painting a Stormcast Eternals model. We supply the paint and the paint brushes for this event, and they will have 45 minutes to paint a model to the best of their capabilities. So definitely looking forward to be able to jump over to that event shortly. But next up on the live stream, I am going to pop over and see if Damon is ready. We're going to do a little bit of an interview with Damon about the game Wrath and Glory, which he is demoing today. Wrath and Glory is a Warhammer 40k RPG. If you guys play Dungeons & Dragons, it's going to be essentially the Warhammer 40k version of that, but the rules are a little different to better represent the scale of the grim darkness of the 41st millennia. So definitely looking forward to bringing that to you. And as always, if you are viewing in today, obviously we've been running the Warhammer 40k Narrative League, which concluded last Tuesday. But if you are tuning in and you like the content that you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we would, of course, love it if you were to share our content on your socials. It lets us know that you are interested in viewing more Games Workshop and 40k content, and that you like what we're doing here at Miniature Market.
I watched the chart.
So the events for today's mini convention are actually going to be going on pretty much all day today. I would wager that we'll probably wrap up here about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So if you are in the DePere area and you'd like to learn a little more about what different games Games Workshop has to offer related to 40K, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, definitely pop by. Give us a visit. We've got demos happening all day for several different game types. I actually ran a Kill Team demo with a player earlier today. Went through, learned the basics of how to go through the basics of how to play Kill Team, going through the phases and general strategies for one when they're first starting out in the game. But in addition, we've also got general 40K demos. We've got Age of Sigmar. I have heard rumor that there may be a Necromunda demo, which will be really fun to see. Necromunda is, of course, a skirmish game type, very similar to Kill Team, but instead of fighting the Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines and Xenos of the large-scale big 40K universe at large, it is a more ground level, almost like crime-focused skirmish type game. Very, very neat game. Very, very different as well. So I've heard rumor that there will be some Necromunda happening as well. So if that does in fact happen, we're definitely going to pop over there and see what's going on. Going to throw a question out to the chat. Tell us, what kinds of Games Workshop products are you guys interested in? Obviously, I am very much on Team 40K, being a large fan for a long time of the game type, but I will say that there are several other games out there that Games Workshop promotes and publishes. So if you've got a game that you're a particularly huge fan of, or if you've got a game that you're wanting to try that might not be 40K or even Age of Sigmar, two of the, they're two powerhouse games, let me know in the chat. And we can definitely get the discussion going about what kinds of games are out there, what games. I've always felt that with the Games Workshop product, obviously, they've got science fiction, science fantasy, and general fantasy for a lot of their games and sort of their general flavor. But there are actually some more obscure games out there that we'll definitely be talking about later today regarding some of those games. So let me know, what games are you interested in, or what is your favorite non-40K or Sigmar Games Workshop title? So to give a little bit of a background behind the format of this Combat Patrol tournament, they're going to be doing 5 rounds. So we are currently in round 3 of the overall tournament, and what they are hoping to do is, out of the, I want to say 14 players that they have here today, they will be playing until one player remains totally undefeated in this tournament style. So they're not playing for tournament points, they're not playing for league points, they're playing to see who will be the undisputed Combat Patrol tournament champion of this group. So very exciting to see where that goes. I've been talking to some of the players around the room, kind of getting their feedback on the different games, what they're seeing. Typically, Combat Patrol is not seen as a terribly competitive game type, very much more focused on casual play, narrative play, rather than that traditional match play format that you'll see at the higher echelons with those 2,000-point games. But it's been interesting talking with our different community members, including David and Michael, who we all saw last week, or last Tuesday on our live stream. Definitely interesting going through and talking to them about how they were preparing for this. Dave Clark, of course, is the TO for this tournament, so he's running things and largely officiating. But as we've kind of talked a little bit, we have brought up several of the different builds that were coming to this. Again, when you're limited to that combat patrol detachment style as well as the 500 points, you are very limited on what you can actually bring to a game and what's going to be competitively viable, as the game really isn't built around 500 points to be the main, the meta, not really built for 500 point meta competition. So it's interesting to see you get to be very creative on what lists we're going to see today.
Got the reroll one, so I was gonna say roll all ones and then roll. Choose your roll one. No, threes. Yeah, that's what we just did last time. Threes. Straight 6 and then plus 1. 8.1. 4 up save. I don't have anything to save it. 1. He does. Does he blow up? No. The opposite of blowing up. But, so when we end, I control 1. You will get 2 for banners there. You'll get 5 for while we stand. I do not get Encircle. I do not get Slay the Warlord. So 55, 51 is what I was. 55 you? Yeah. That was when I came back here. That's what I needed to do. Yeah. And that morale. I think that morale changed it because you would have had. I would have held more. Well, you would have held more, or you would have got 10 points for. Yeah, so that was a huge. And I totally goofed by not shooting that first. Yeah. Oh, that was a good game. That's what I'm looking That was a game. When you melted my entire bike squad turn 1, I was like, this is gonna be.
I'm gonna need you to check his dice. He cheated the whole time.
Did you win?
I did. It was there was a massive screenplay right here.
No, I saw it. I was like, I came over and was like, damn, is Caleb winning this? Holy shit!
If he didn't flee on a 6, you would have fled on 5 or 6.
Yeah, I needed to roll a 4. Yeah, I rolled a 6. That was a 10-point swing.
I need to tell you my
That was crazy. Really?
Let's see, I will get this in here. Melties. Get on the counter to them.
Yeah. At least I played Orcs the first time. I was like, man, I was like 6 Eradicators. This is a great list. And I played Orcs. I was like, nah, I don't have enough. Do it. 51, 50. You fucking cheated the whole time.
One CP. My fallback and shoot was, and then around.
I guess I'm playing you next. Really? I don't know. I don't really want to see 6 Eradicators.
I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, me going first was huge because I wiped out his Black Knight squad. I was up 4 of them.
Yeah.
What's that leader?
They don't take leadership. As inner circle, we all pass morales. Yeah. I wish he had inner circle, but so he does have inner circle, but it doesn't give them the transhuman. Because inner circle transhuman is only for infantry, so these guys don't get it. Dreadnoughts don't get it, which is good because that would be insane.
Yeah, that would be.
If I could have that running around 17-inch move with transhuman, that would be an issue.
Such a good game.
That was.
I wanted you in the finals.
I wanted to watch you get run over by a bug.
I did too. Honestly, though, this whole time I've been like, how do I deal with the blade?
It's just one loss, right?
I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just going to run the entire time.
no, I was gonna say what really what you need to do is just like move block him. You gotta try for 3 turns.
Yeah.
Because there's 10 bloodliners. Their move isn't great. And plus, you gotta keep something on objective.
Yeah.
Super ranking on season.
Yeah. And I'm, like I said, I'm gonna go like,
Just like every corner.
yep. And then as soon as he starts coming this way, like, run, brothers.
Run, brothers. Giant red thing.
Yeah. He's getting closer. Damn, that was a very good game. So in tactical, they get +1 to move.
So all game they ignore AP1, okay, which is why every time you go to AP2,
Just enough.
and then they get +1 AP in tactical, +1 to move with flavors and helmets.
That's pretty solid.
The other list I was thinking about was taking either Terminators or Blade Gunners, as many aggressors as I can fit, and then Vulcan, because Vulcan gets out chapter master rerolls. So flavors who will wound up, probably praise.
And get max hits.
Yeah. But I think this was a little bit stronger.
Yeah, no, I mean that list. I was intrigued by the chaplain, but seeing how you played it, getting that +1 to move makes total sense. Because like that's the only thing that, like when I look at that list, like that doesn't make sense that it's in there. But seeing how it works, like well, maybe it does.
It's also just kind of like this funny character.
Yeah.
Because it's, he has no business being as tanky as he is.
Yeah, that T7 -1 to move, that is tough to get through.
When there was like the flight captain, it was like the same concept because you could get on the same round. More attacks and defense.
I have a bike chaplain that I use for like these guys. I +1 to moon and melee, reroll a hit roll. Those get pretty spicy. They're like it's nice to get space creep, not Gravis for 2 damage. Kind of loses it on them. They're sneaky good if you play a chaplain right.
Like I said, I never used the chaplain. I had to ask Davis like what they go off on. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think you should spend a CP to give it. You gave him a different one. Do you have anything that you can give to?
I could spend an extra 20. Oh, you mean 20?
All right, and I am back. Just had to take a quick meal break. But we are actually setting up for the 4th round now of our Combat Patrol tournament. So we're going to be seeing two new armies face off on the table here in front of us today. But we are going to be switching over briefly to talk to Damon, who is currently running our Wrath and Glory event. He's going to tell us a little bit about the Wrath and Glory game and, what to expect if you're wanting to jump over into 40K RPGs. So Damon will be joining us here in just a couple of moments now.
I just wanted to shoot. So it'd be like +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 damage.
If you like taking someone like that and then throwing a like the normal librarious discipline, Might of Heroes, you give them another strength, another toughness, and an additional attack. So you just build like an ICBM on a 14-inch bike Go get him! And it's like, that's like 4 damage. Oh no, 3 damage, because it's a 2.
2 damage. If I get off the
Yeah, plus 1.
and then with the librarian thing.
Yeah, it gives you another attack. And then the additional strength at that point.
3 damage. Like,
Yeah, with 6 attacks on the charge.
I need you guys to you can stay. You need to get the fuck out. I need you on table 2, please.
Alright, I'm gonna do my best. So
We
we're
are.
back to 1.
Yeah, back to mission 1.
Alright. No. Oh no. Alright. So let's see here. Let's get these. 16 inches. It's been going, that was the closest game that I've had. And Meltons are still pretty good, actually. Yeah. They were, I didn't know about their +1 to wound with Meltons. That is a...
Like I said, we're going to be jumping over with Damon here shortly, who's going to be telling us a little bit about Warhammer Wrath and Glory, the Warhammer 40k RPG. I'm a huge fan of Wrath and Glory myself. I've played a couple different one-off campaigns. Very, very fun system if you are interested in exploring the scale of the 40k universe through the different encounters. They've got really cool mechanics for doing mass combat as well as just individual typical dungeon crawl combat as well. So looking forward to talking with Damon more about that. As well as Damon tends to run a lot of the events over at the Cave Springs Miniature Market store. We're at Manchester today. But we'll talk to Damon a little bit about what he has planned kind of coming up for the different events, including our RPG demo day and what we're hoping to see there as well.
So this weapon is either 8 attacks, it's strength 16, AP4, and 85. And that's D3 plus 40, or 16 attacks, strength 8, AP3, 3.
Okay. And then do they don't take leadership, do they?
They do.
Okay. What is the leadership? 8. Okay, so it's okay, so I gotta get a couple off. So I've got Talon Master with -1 to hit and OBSEC. -1 to hit is only for him. He's got Arbitr's Case. So he's got Arthur's Gaze, so he's always hitting on 2s. You don't get the benefit of cover. He's got a heavy 12, strength 6, AP1, 1 damage. Heavy 6, strength 5, AP1, 2 damage. These guys have Assault 2, strength 7, AP3, 1 damage, or I can go 8 and 2.
Welcome to Chad Gamers with Coffee. Yeah, so we are doing a mini convention today focusing primarily on Games Workshop products. With that being said, I've got Damon coming in next to me. Damon primarily helps with a lot of our RPGs, but today he is going to be assisting us with running Warhammer Wrath and Glory. So, Damon, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you're running today.
Great. My name is Damien Wilson. I'm normally at the Cave Springs location. I'm the role-playing event coordinator for them at that site. And today, for the Games Workshop Day, I'm running the role-playing game for Warhammer 40k Universe called Wrath and Glory. It is a universal system that you can use to play different types of Imperium or Xenos or Eldrazi or Eldar, things like that. It is a tier-based system. So those of you who are familiar with some of the armies of different parts of the universe, your Tier 1 troops would be your Imperial Guard. Those are Tier 1 characters that have low-level skills. They're rank and file. Tier 2 would be more like your Space Marine Scouts. Tier 3 characters would be full-on Space Marines. Tier 4 would be more of your Sergeants, Lieutenants, Psychers, things like that. So that if your role-playing group wants to play in any one of those tiers, you can definitely do that, and the products support that. There is also support for playing Eldar and Orcs as well that I'm aware of. There might be more products coming out soon, things like that. It is a D6 pool-based system that you add your skill and your attribute as a number of dice. You're looking for a 4, a 5, or a 6. For successes, there's a little bit more complication beyond that. And there is also a token economy where the players get tokens to spend on their behalf in person. There's a pool of tokens you can get to spend as a party, and then the Game Master has a pool as well that they spend to counteract some of the PCs. That's a really rough and quick and dirty overview of how the system works. It's a lot of fun. If you've got armies that you play or spare figures, you can bring those models to the table and run your little simulations and fun things like that as well. Character sheets and characters are it's a one-page character sheet. It's pretty simple. The stat blocks look like a lot like the 40K stat blocks. It's very intuitive for people that play 40K, and it's a really fun, simple system.
So with that being said, I know we played last year,
right,
at the last year's mini convention, and I've played a little bit of Wrath and Glory on my own. So.
Yep.
I think so. My question would be, I've played a little bit of the game, but for someone who might be like brand new jumping in, so let's say it is a tier-based system. What would happen? Let's say someone wants to play like a Scion, a Scion or a Kasserkin or one of those like elite guardsmen, but the rest of the players are maybe playing Space Marines. Is there possibility for crossing over?
There are multiple character templates throughout all the books, and it gives a tier rating. So you could play as a mixed team of Imperial Guard forces and Marine forces on a special assignment. Maybe they're on a Death Watch mission, things like that. Whatever the GM and the players want to cook up together, you can root through the templates and figure out, I've got a tier 2 guardsman or a tier 3 guardsman psyker that's going to be roughly the same power level game mechanic wise to fit in with that Marine squad, for example. So that's definitely doable. It's a very flexible system with those tiers. And it's all kind of about how does the group do cohesion, things like that. You're all going to kind of need to agree, we're going to play a tier 2 game or we're going to play a tier 3 game. And that would help set the stage for what are we doing, what character templates do I have at tier 3 versus tier 2. You guys might want to sit down in your session 0 as your character creation and world building session and say, okay, let's all root through tier 2 and tier 3 templates. What are we most comfortable with? What power levels do we like? Because we're here to have fun.
Yeah.
So we're all going to want to look at those templates. And again, as more books come out and more products come out, they do add more templates to the game. So keep your eye out on the Cubicle 7 site. They've got a mix of PDF and print products and things like that. I know there are some free products that they have, I believe. I don't know if they've got like a quick start kit, I don't recall. But there may be a couple of free demo scenarios, things like that give like a quick start rules. I'd have to go back and check the Cubicle 7 site myself. I'm actually running a set of 4 mini scenarios that run about 2 hours apiece. That's a planetary-wide battle on a planet called Taurus Amos, not Tori Amos the singer, but very similar name. It is a large invasion of the Imperium trying to take over. A set of heretics have taken over a city spire, and you play soldiers and personnel you're looking at different pockets of that larger battle scope, and you're like, we're going to go open up this flank, we're going to seize this dam, this river, things like that. So I've got 4 different scenarios, each playing a different tier. Tier 1, you're playing guardsmen in the first scenario. Second tier, you're playing Marine scouts. Third tier, you're playing Marines, and I believe the 4th tier is Terminators.
Oh, nice.
Going and doing things. So in an 8-hour session of play, or maybe even 2 game nights, you could buy these. I think they're $4 or $6 a piece for the PDFs. Maybe a PDF of the rule book or the quick start rules could get you through everything. In that 8-hour course of play, you could experience all 4 tiers just to kind of see how all the power levels work out.
Very cool. So, kind of, obviously today's Games Workshop, focused convention, but like you said, you run a lot of the events over at the Cave Springs location.
Correct.
So, what's the next event for you?
So, the next event for me, currently, I'm running an Octun Cthulhu, which is a Modifius 2D20 system. Our role-playing night at Cave Springs is on Mondays. Here at Manchester, it's on Wednesdays. I'm running a table of Octung Cthulhu, which is World War II and the mythos, where you get to punch evil in the face. It's very fun. It mixes some spellcasting, some mythos components. It uses the Modifius House engine of the 2D20 system. That also runs the Fallout system. It runs Conan. It runs Octung Cthulhu. It runs Star Trek. It may be Homeworld, I believe. I may be missing some systems. And each of the 2D20 systems is slightly tweaked game mechanic-wise for the setting. But I'm about to start an 8-part campaign for the Octung Cthulhu on Mondays. And then on March 25th, 2023, we're having our demo day, and I'll be running a very odd one-off kind of Powered by the Apocalypse game called Cyrun, where you're playing, you have just woken up and you are running away from an institute or something, and you've got psychic powers, but they've got you so drugged up you don't remember what your powers are or what you're doing. But I'm putting a twist on it, and I'm doing a Days of Future Past comic book spin, so I'm running that for my game on the 25th. That's what I'm up to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for jumping in here.
Not a problem.
Glad we could go over that. So, if anyone here is free today and you're looking to learn a little bit about Wrath and Glory or any of these systems, Damon's going to be running pretty much until
about 9:30.
About 9:30 tonight. So, if you're in the De Pere area and you see the miniature market store and see all the cars, that's what we're running today. So, definitely stop in and say hi. Thanks, Damon.
Thank you.
And with that, we're hopping back over into the next round of our Combat Patrol tournament. So we've got, looks like, Demons of Khorne versus the Dark Angels again. I'm going to be wagering. I think our Dark Angels player has currently gone undefeated. So very excited to see how this game goes. But I think also the Demons of Khorne army has gone undefeated as well. So very interested to see how this is. The Dark Angels army is very mobile, very fast, very shooty. Demons of Khorne, not really known to be a shooting army. But as we get set up for this, I'm going to take a quick break from the mic so we can get started setting up for our speed painting competition, which is going to be starting here shortly. Very much looking forward to being able to see what our contestants are going to be painting up for us today. Be right back.
What's your melee like? Is it just the Talon Master, really?
The Talon Master, and these guys have a +1 AP1 2 damage. So they, yeah. So they can punch pretty decent.
Those are good buttons.
Yep. Want to go there? I'm taking engage. I can't see you there. The Knights over yonder, 10 inches. Okay. All right. First turn. Well, yeah. All right. So I won roll off. So I went first. Scoring. Good luck. Good luck. All right. So command phase. I'm gonna pick that to not get covered. It only matters for the Black Knights, and it really doesn't matter at all. Okay. What do those do?
I can spend them. The main ones are going to be, I can spend them to bring back 2 or 3 guys, just for this one, or I can spend it to make it -1 to hit.
Okay. Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at.
camera right now. Should we be rolling in like 5 minutes? Okay.
Are we on? Yeah. All right. I will do. He's gonna sit still. He's going to advance, but it doesn't really matter. These Black Knights are going to advance. So they go an additional 6, so they're going 23 here. I go here to that zone and using that objective. Talon Master right there. So he's going to advance, but it doesn't really matter because you're not shooting. He's right there. He's going to sit still. Okay. We're going to sit these guys still. Alright, so now I'm in the shooting. Shooting, I'm going to go
It needs to be the best
Plasma Storm into that.
This is where I'll spend 2. Everything will be -1. All of my guys will be -1.
Okay, so -1, this is going to be supercharged, 2d3, lot. These are going to hit on 2s because I did not move.
Yep, down to 3, so -1 hit.
Yep. So I do damage myself, so I'm down to 8.
Yep, they're already.
Yeah, strength 9, so 3 to wound. Their AP 4. 3 each. Okay. Talon Master can shoot everything. He is 23.9 inches. So these are going to hit on 2s. They always hit on 2s. So drop 2, strength 6, so 5s to wound.
And I'm back, folks. So we are going to have a brief holding pattern on the speed painting competition as we wait for a couple more contestants to sign up for the competition. Coming back to this game here, say, beginning the game. One of the things that is interesting with this format as we're kind of running it, so Combat Patrol can kind of go one of 2 ways as far as pace of the game, length of the game. Because it's that smaller point size, you don't have to move as many models, so that definitely keeps the movement and dice rolling to a minimum comparatively to what we've seen in the last couple of weeks with our 2,000-point games. But sometimes these games will last the full 45 minutes, and we've had a couple games today that they were done in the first 15, and that's just kind of the nature of Combat Patrol. Because the armies are so small, you never know. A couple good rounds of shooting or combat could end the game very, very quickly. So we're coming into these early phases. You can see those Ravenwing command squads looping around the south side of the board. I'm going to wager, so having watched a couple of the other games that have happened today, there have been several players who have run different demon armies that were running big centerpiece models. We've got, of course, Michael Rose, who we saw featured on Tuesday's match of our narrative league, this time playing demons as opposed to his Ultramarines. And one of the strategies that he has mentioned, so he's actually running, I believe, Bellacore for this game, and one of Bellacor's special rules is that he can only take so many wounds. It's 8 wounds per phase. So unless you can hurt him in every single phase, there isn't a reliable way to take him down quickly, and that makes him very, very dangerous in this game. So our Dark Angels player is going to have to get the most out of his shooting and his melee should he choose to engage Bellacor in melee. And for those who have been keeping up, Bellacor has risen to some new prominence in the Arcs of Omen book. Of course, the Vashdor book coming out very, very soon. If it didn't release today, I'll have to double check on that. But with some of the new happenings with Vashdor, I won't spoil too much for those of you who want to read the book. Bellacor makes a surprise appearance in the most recent of the Arcs of Omen books, so definitely check that out if you're interested in narrative play 40k, or if you're just interested in the lore in general. Definitely check out those Arcs of Omen books as they are releasing. We are coming into the 3rd book, Vashdor, and then of course the 4th book, Farsight, has also just been announced, focusing primarily on a conflict between the Tau and the Orcs. We then have our mystery 5th book, which we are still waiting to have announced. We know that a 5th book is coming, but we do not know the subject matter of that book. Most people's money right now is on the Lion, and I myself am also placing good money on the Lion, given the hints that Games Workshop has been dropping. So, as you can see, those blood letters are being moved up the board very, very quickly. Demons of Khorne, very quick army. And their unique invulnerable demon save, very, very powerful tool, especially when facing off against something like the Dark Angels. And Bellacor is just getting right in there with those Raven Wing bikes. I think that it's not looking good for our hero of the Dark Angels, but we shall see. Definitely wouldn't count them out yet. So even though he's got that bike squad locked up in melee, or presumably going to be locked up in melee, he does still have those 2 speeders back there that are going to have quite a bit of mobility potential, as well as really, really good shooting, both in volume of fire and power of fire. And then don't forget about the squad of intercessors that he's got in that bottom left building down there.
And I'll spend a CP to get them a 3d6 charge.
I'm going to overwatch. You got 1, then you spent 1, then I spent 1. Alright. So, Overwatch, you got 12 shots.
Oh, does he always hit on 2s even? He does. Oh, this is a mistake.
So hitting on 2s. And then strength 5 or 6.
Okay, 3s.
5 neg 2s. Strength 5 here. Neg 2s.
So I see Gamers with Coffee in the chat today. So what brings you here? How'd you find out about us if you're still listening in?
Yeah, that's all the
All right, looks like we've got some of those demons taken out, looks like by fire from those speeders. I'm wondering if he had some kind of Auspex scan ability. Oh, wait, no, he's moving him into melee.
You can just line them up.
So we must have taken him out in Overwatch. Yeah, definitely took them out in Overwatch. Look at that. And we get that charge in there with Bellacor. Looks like he's actually going to go, he's going to opt to go around to the back of the squad rather than remaining in the front. Definitely a wise play on Mike's part. one of the things for those of you who might be new or not as familiar with the 40K game is that when you make a charge and you make that charge roll to determine how far you can go, there are cases when it is actually better to try to charge around to the back because you might be able to get additional movement, which is definitely what Mike's trying to do. He's got to take down that Raven Wing while he can. And then additionally get over to that speeder. That speeder is also a flying model, so it is going to be able to harass him pretty bad if he's not able to take care of it now. Welcome to chat, Nick. Wah, as always.
No.
All right, we've got melee coming in, hitting on 2s. Look like wounding on 3s there. Pretty average roll, I'd say. Let's see what happens next.
She'll have 6 up.
Yep. 6 up here. Or 9 up.
All right, we've got some saves coming in. Ooh. Looks like he's losing a couple of those bikes. Not maybe all of them. Let's see. Anything survives. No. Nah, I think that's a wiped squad. Yep, that's definitely what that is. Like I said, definitely a wise choice of Mike's because now he's going to be able to consolidate a little closer to that intercessor squad hiding out in that building. I'm really curious to see what his Dark Angel opponent is going to do to try to combat that. That is a lot of points off the board and a lot of crucial shooting. Crucial melee as well. The Raven Wing attack squad, or command squad, is definitely not something to be sneezed at. So really curious to see how he is going to try and recover from that.
He's a vehicle, so
I didn't know.
Yep.
It was one of those things. It could be a biker.
Yeah, you killed the bike. Those ones are gone. So morale over there. Lost 6. And 1s and 2s.
And don't forget that if you like the content you see today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, share us on your socials if you are so inclined. It lets us know that you like the content that we're producing and that you'd like to see more of it. So definitely let us know. And if you've got any questions for me in the chat about 40K, the tournament, miniature markets, events, anything like that, definitely let me know.
Oh, attrition, yeah, that's 3? I think it's 4. Alright, so I've got go to 2 CP there. I'm going to go ahead and go into movement. I'm going to say a Devastator. I'm going to spin 1 CP for Attractable. So I can move him and shoot still. So he's got 21.
Looks like the Dark Angel's the only thing they're really going to be able to do at this point. And I've mentioned this in previous streams. Sometimes when you end up in a situation where you've got this real powerhouse model that you don't have a good answer to, sometimes you end up in a situation where you have to make the choice on whether you are going to just try and take that model out, remove it from the game, because I believe Bellicor is something like 280-ish points. A lot of points in the army. So if Bellicor goes down, then David's going to be totally crippled here as far as what he's going to be able to do. Or, you can opt to ignore it and just play out the game, removing everything around that centerpiece model. Force David into a position where he's going to have to be very, very careful about, what he chooses to attack, what battlegrounds he chooses to go after, and what's going to be worth it ultimately. Because remember, 40K is not just a game about destroying your opponents entirely. Tabling your opponent does not guarantee a victory in this game. In fact, there are cases in which it might not be the best solution to winning a game. It is a game about points and scoring objectives, and so that is something to keep in mind. Is in that objective game, that's where you're going to see the real play. So obviously, losing that bike squad early on, definitely a pretty painful blow, but Mike does not have a lot of models on the board. At most, he can only really capture reliably 2 objectives at a time. So just because of the raw numbers on the board, there's still a good chance he can come back here, depending on how he prioritizes his targets, in addition to how he decides to play out these objectives. I'm going to take a brief break from the mic here and check in and see how our speed paint competition is going. I think we might be able to get started here in just a few seconds, so I will be right back.
Okay. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to go end shooting. So I'm going to do frag into those 2 over there.
I'll send the thing for the scout to make a minus 1.
Make him?
It's everyone.
Okay.
You can shoot them. You have to be within 12.
Okay.
So take the negative.
They're not. So then...
If you need to shuffle them at all.
No, you're good. I'll just shoot there. So we'll go crack into there, hitting on a 4. Nope. And then the other 4. 3 shots each. We've got autos hitting on 4s. I wanted to speed these TIRs. Yep. 6s. Every time. All my 6s yeah. So now I will do the assault cannon into here, plasma storm battery into there. So 6 shots from the assault cannon hitting on strength 6. So 2 negatives.
Okay. These guys, right?
Yep.
They'll both, so delete it. That was this guy?
Yeah.
I can't see him now. Do you have more shooting from him?
Yeah. I've got the plasma into the big guy.
Well, okay. Sorry.
You're good. I'll just roll for the amount of shots. Yeah. Supercharging.
I'll re-roll to try to keep it.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Alright.
I've done this guy.
You said you're at 0?
Yep.
Okay. I've got you at... That was the first one you spent here in turn 2, right?
Yep.
In turn 1, you spent 1 to the auto charge, right? Yep. What were your other 2?
On your turn, I did the move.
Oh, okay. That was 2 points. Gotcha. Right. And there now. still have one to do. So 5 shots, hitting on 4s into that guy. 3 hits. Strength 9, so 1 increase. So they all move, all in E4. His shooting. So we've got.
And you can instant shoot on everything?
Yeah, devastator doctors. And I get -1, but. So hitting on 2s, these are the strength 6, AP 1 damage. So they all hit. Strength 6, AP 5. 2 -2s. One damage, yeah. Heavy bolter. So 2s. Strength 5. 5. 1. Big 2.
How much damage you can do?
Alright. That is the end of my turn. So, I have 1.
That's still sticking, right?
Yes. I have engage, which is 2. Attrition is 4 points. Engage all fronts is 2, unless I have all 4.
I'll pull the score.
It's like a 10-inch charge. Yeah. That's what I want to do. But what should I do? Okay, so I'll have 15 because I control this one, and control one silver board. So I control that objective right now. It's called sticky. If we don't have it, man face is sticky. Yep. That's completely fine.
Okay. I'll use one of my remaining CPs here to Overwatch. So 2d3 shots, supercharged.
4. And we're going to be launching that speed paint event here in about 5 minutes. The contestants are just prepping their final paint supplies, and we're getting the area set up so that we can bring you that speed paint event. Like I said, they're going to be painting Stormcast Eternals, and I will, of course, be giving the play-by-play as we see the event go forward. So stay tuned as we move forward with that event.
Yep.
We'll go there. We'll go here first. So that's 5 up. How much damage? Just one. And there was 2.
So that would get this one. And then yeah, we'll do my charge over here. Okay. That's kind of good.
That's pretty big. Alright, so turn 3. I don't control any. Alright. You didn't kill anything more. Okay, so now movement. Talamaster. It'll be 20.9 inches away.
As we make final preparations for that speed painting contest, come back to this game. So yeah, it looks like in general, the plan here for this game looks like he's going to try to divide his forces out and surround Bellicor. Force him to only be able to fight one squad at a time while still maintaining as much battlefield superiority as far as objectives go as possible. So definitely, I think, a wise choice, and really the only one he has right now. He's got to get the breakaway with the score while he can, if he's got any hope of succeeding in winning this game.
Hitting on 2s then. Supercharge does naturally, if you don't mind. These will be 3s through. We got 3, 4, 3 damage each. Alright, that's what I needed. 2s. Strength 6, 25. Now I need strength 6 shots. Wounding on 5s. So that's 6 and 8, 1. Heavy bolts are rolling. 2. Alright. So that is, how many is he at? 10? Frag grenade here. Hitting on 2s.
So I threw the question out in the chat a couple times, curious to see if anyone's still interested in this. So one of the things I wanted to ask those of you who are watching today is what non-40K or Sigmar games are you interested in playing, or are your favorite games? Of course, we've got Blood Bowl, Necromunda, Kill Team, Underworlds. Let's see if I can go through the whole list. Warcry, Adeptus Titanicus, Horus Heresy, all those games. What games are you most interested to learn, see, or are your favorite games to play yourselves? Let us know in the chat.
He can move 21.
We are moving into final preparations for the speed paint contest. We've got 4 painters today who are going to be featured in this contest, so we are very excited to see what they're able to bring. Essentially, here's going to be the rules that they are going to have in the speed paint contest. They have been allowed, we have provided the paint, we have provided the brushes, the water, the palettes, anything that they need, they are allowed to use in this event. So, essentially what they will have is once we say go, they are able to prep their paints in any way that they need, but they will have 45 minutes to paint their model as quickly and thoroughly as possible. We've also pre-primed the model so they won't have to worry about priming and letting it dry. But 45 minutes is not a lot of time if you're wanting to get a lot of detail into the speed paint. So very good challenge for our players today. So we are really excited to be bringing you that here shortly.
One damage? Yeah, one damage. Like you guys. Yep, that's all good. Okay. Yeah, charge. Taking a cinema distance. Yeah, so I'm just going to put
He's T6.
does he have any defensive stuff?
3 of
All right, so it looks like Belcour is going to be going after, I believe it's Samael. It's the Dark Angel's signature speeder. Looks like he's going after that, going to try to take it out. Probably the wisest decision. And my money says that the speeder is not long for this world. Funny enough, let's take a look at the Belcour stat block and know that he's just generally a pretty beefy model in general, but let's take a look specifically at what he has to offer.
AP3.
So it looks like Belcour, he's got that Blade of Shadows, and with his strength score being an 8 naturally, the Sweeping Strike giving him just a ton of attacks. Gets to make 2 hit rolls instead of 1 for each attack, but then that Piercing Strike I think is going to be really his biggest boon here. Plus 4 strength, -4 AP, and a D3 -3 damage, plus it ignores invulnerable saving throws. See that speeder go down there, definitely something to not be messed with, but again, we've got that issue where our Dark Angels player, we're in turn 3 right now, and he's only able, really, to hold the one objective right now, just because of how outnumbered he is.
Okay.
Away from me?
I've got advanced. I've got 22, plenty enough to do what I need. Yeah. So I got that objective. I can see you. I'm as far as late as possible. Alright, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to start over here. Yeah. He's trying.
I literally can do it.
All right, and with that, we are about to get started on the speed painting competition. So I'm going to go over and ready the contestants, and then I will be right back as we start here in the next minute or so.
One damage. And the other bolters, I think he's
And with that, our speed painting competition is off. Right now, you can see Keenan is starting. He's going with I'm going to wager Keenan's going with some kind of like mossy, oaky, nature-themed primordial vibe for his. Taking a look at his color palette in general. Very interested to see what they are going to go with that. Like I was saying, the speed painting competition they have 45 minutes to try to paint these models as precisely as they can, given the time limit. And they are not able to bring their own paints, though we did supply quite a few different colors that they're going to be using today.
I cannot do engage anymore. Control one. This one. I can, I will transhuman them.
Does that last for the whole turn? Or just the phase?
Last for the phase, so I'll wait.
Shoot me first with D6 all
We'll start back here. He's in cover, so it'll be 4 up. One dice. This is only one damage, right? This guy. You might be far enough, but I can't catch up.
Yeah, I don't think I can set that. By white. Yeah, right. I'll send my last one. Six ups, and each one will kill a guy.
So I need to save 2. I need 2 6-ups. Now. Alright, so that gives you attrition.
Attrition, so I hold in your thing today.
Turn 5 and control those 2. I don't think basically I'm going to come over here and try to shoot you. That would only give me another 5 and get while we're seeing the fight. And then
Definitely interested to see where Keenan's going with that. Looks like he's going with like almost like a
so yeah.
almost a yellow color, but he's got some looks like metallic flecks in there.
So much shooting and movement. And I thought the bikes could do melee, but I wasn't sure. I was like, you can maybe get the like extra damage through, but
Yeah, no. So throw out to chat. Wardrobe Plays. Yeah, we are really trying to do a lot more with our streaming in general. So we're excited to be bringing you today's content. Obviously we've been having our narrative league, and we're hoping to maybe have more 40K content on Tuesdays. But we'll see, just kind of given our streaming schedule as we're looking forward. But we've definitely got RPG Demo Day coming up, and then we are looking to start a D&D live stream as well, so we'll be seeing that coming in the coming months. So very excited to see where that goes once we get started there.
still hold this.
Yeah. So nothing there, and then no more. Yeah. No more. So 50-82.
Awesome. That was the closest I've ever come to. I mean, I was on table 1.
I'm very happy. What did I say? 82.
I have it. Did it? This is another
Get a real close-up in there. Going for a more classic Stormcast look, it looks like. It's got the gold.
Yeah, Sticky probably.
And then let's see that shield when he turns it back around.
Primaries.
So it looks like he's still just getting that gold on that model, which is going to be really important for, the thing about painting Stormcast is that they're going to primarily be that, 1 or 2 colors, which makes them a perfect model to use for these speed painting competitions.
I like it for these games, but the fact that it's only on one of the objectives, if it was on all of the missions for this.
And with that, 10 minutes has elapsed for our players here.
How were your other games? So, first one was pretty fun. Mostly been a tailing, but
Moving back over to Keenan and see if we can get a close-up on that model there.
it was fun. It was more like just fighting. Then,
Really curious to see what he's doing in general. I know he's got a very interesting palette, and that is one of the things. So we are doing Voter's Choice for this speed painting competition. So definitely interested to see. That is one of the strategies you can play if you can choose a particularly unique or difficult paint scheme to paint in. That can definitely give you certain advantages. I know during the last painting competition that we held last year, we saw some really, really neat paint schemes. And that was a strategy that several players who either placed or won their given competitions used, was that they chose very challenging colors to paint with. I'm going to wager, just taking a look at Keenan's model, that might be the strategy he's taking. What do we have here? So we've got this bronze. It looks like he's doing more of a dry brush technique. very interesting.
Because he could have dropped the flying guys, taken an effective. He could have been more points. It would have been an uphill battle, but I mean, how the dice roll, right?
Coming back to Keenan's model. Yes, he's chosen yellow, but he's got it's almost a fluorescent yellow within that bronze shield. Very interesting choice there. Yellow, traditionally, for those of you who might be new to painting, yellow is traditionally a very difficult color to paint with without the right kind of undercoats. Now with white, you're not going to run into too many issues, being that we did the zenithal prime, black primer within a white dusting on top of it. So interested to see Keenan going and deciding that he's going to paint in yellow within that brass bronze shield. Really interested to see how that turns out as we come into the final parts of this competition. Getting close to the 30-minute mark. So the first key thing, when you look at speed painting in general, when we kind of compare it to last year and then look at what we're doing this year, is there's really 3 phases to painting when it comes to model painting for 40K for the most part. And different people are going to have their own different philosophies, but really you can kind of divide it into 3 sections. You've got your base coat, which is where you get your basic colors on the model. You've got your highlight coat, where you're going to go typically over raised edges, areas that would reflect light really, really nicely. And then you have typically what will be used as a shade layer. And so with this competition, what contestants really have to be prioritizing is what do they want to focus on, because in 45 minutes, realistically, if you're trying to get a model table ready, you can get a model table ready in 25 to 30 minutes, but to really get that high quality paint job, that's where you're going to run into a lot of that that priority, where you will need to really focus in on what's going to be most important. Is it going to be those highlights? Is it going to be those darker tones? Definitely really interested to see where they go. And look at that, my dad's in stream. Hi, Dad. How are you doing? Coming close to that shield. The Stormcast shield, I actually have a Stormcast army. What is he doing? Oh my gosh, he is doing... Looks like he's doing a wet blending. Fascinating. That is definitely a bold choice. So it starts with that yellow up at the top, and then it slowly fades into that green, almost as like a color shift. Very, very cool. Really interested to see how that pays off. Now that's going to definitely burn some time as we hit the 30-minute mark. But man, if he's able to do that, finish it off strong, that will pay off huge for when we get to the voting section. Going back to that yellow model. Very, very interesting. Definitely curious to see how these all turn out. Like I was saying, typically with these competitions, especially because we're not allowing the contestants to actually bring their own paint or their own supplies, they really do have to work with what they're given. I know when I paint models, like I'm a sucker for dry brushing. I use a lot of dry brushing with my models, a lot of dry brushing, and I'm a big fan of shades and using shades in interesting ways. So I don't actually think they have any shades. So if they're going to use a shade layer to get in the shadows, get in the cracks and make those shadows, they're going to have to make their shades themselves by watering down paint, which, like I said before, that's going to take time. And because watered down paint is not the same as a shade, you do end up with the possibility of increased pooling and bubbling, and it not actually being dry by the end for them to finish out the model. Let's see if we can get a close-up on this model. Interesting. So Stormcast traditionally are like a bright gold color, but he's going more with a brass or a bronze color. Go back to Keenan over there. Keenan is also running some of our demos today, so he's actually taking a break from the demo to take part in the speed painting competition. I think what's really going to make or break these models when they're done. We have a lot of very experienced painters in the room who are going to be voting on this contestants for our Combat Patrol tournament, those who are participating in our Wrath and Glory game, those who are demoing and participating in demos, and then those who are also just here to watch. I really think the key thing for these Stormcast models, as far as these painters are concerned, the key thing is how are they going to paint those weapons? The Stormcast shield, and specifically these shields, what they're called, the Venators, their shields are very, very detailed for being a rank and file unit. And so I think a big thing is how are they going to make those shields pop? How are they going to differentiate themselves from the competition and make those shields really look really sharp? Interesting. So it looks like he's still going gray with the shield. I'm wondering if he's wanting to go with an undercoat there, or if he's wanting to keep it like almost a stone gray. That would be interesting to see the gray on that brass color. Getting close to that 25-minute mark. And that's one of the crazy things when you get under the gun to paint in contests like this. It's very interesting because you'll see a lot of really cool ideas start in the first half. And then you get to that last 10, 15 minutes when you got to get those details in. And that's where I think we're going to see a lot of interesting developments happen, especially with this model right here. Like, oh my gosh, the wet blending he's doing that quickly really is impressive, doing the color shift. But what I'm hoping here, and he's still got right at about 25 minutes, but I'm really curious to see how he finishes it off, because in order for that color shift to pop, that effect that he's going with, he's got to make sure that the non-color shift details are very, very sharp. Otherwise, it'll kind of all blend together. So really interested to see how that one shapes out. I definitely think that he's probably a front runner in this competition. Very, very sharp paint scheme. Let's take a look at this one right here. See if we got a progress update. All right, looks like he's going to be adding some more. Going to be adding a different color there. So we allowed the contestants to kind of build their palettes earlier before the game started. So it's interesting that he is now pulling in a new color. I'm wondering. Okay, so it looks like he's going after that shade layer, trying to get those shadows. That's going to be really, really key here to bring out the shadows, especially if he's got enough time to make a highlight layer. I'm going to take a break from Mike real quick and give them a time update.
Speed painters, you have 24 minutes. 24 minutes. Thank you.
Coming up shortly, we actually have some players doing some open play with a couple of Games Workshop products that like I was mentioning before, aren't as popular as 40K and as Age of Sigmar. We've actually got some players playing Blood Bowl today, which is sort of American football / rugby inspired miniatures game. So we've got some players in the back, and we're actually going to bring a couple of them up to talk a little bit about Blood Bowl. I haven't actually played Blood Bowl before. I've played a little bit of Guild Ball, which is a very similar type game, but we're really excited to be able to bring them here and have them talk a little bit about what makes Blood Bowl different from some of these other games.
Where I can get a shot that isn't that while we're waiting. I wish I had another camera over there to mix the shot with, so it's not just my free cam the whole time.
One of the things with this competition is because we are actually out in the gaming room, so if you look around, you'll see that there are people milling about playing their different combat patrol games, playing Kill Team, or just hanging out in general, so that we do have some people who are stopping by to talk to the painters as they're going through. So hopefully not offering too much of a distraction, but that is part of the challenge. It's really easy to paint in private on a time limit. A lot harder to paint in public when you've got a time limit like that. So just another little addition to that challenge there. Coming up on 21 minutes for this competition. And this is where we're really going to see the painters shine. So they've pretty much all got their base coats on for the most part. So they've got their base colors down. Some of them have some shade layers as well. And of course, you've got that color shift model that's being painted as well. So now here's where we're really going to see that skill come into play, because we're going to need to see edge highlighting. We're going to need to see impromptu dry brushing without dry paint. Typically with dry brushing, you use what's called a dry paint. It is a paint that is specifically made for dry brushing. And there is also what's called a dry brush. So these contestants are going to have to do dry brushing or edge highlighting without tools that are designed specifically for that. And of course, you can do that. I myself, I own a couple of really nice dry brushes, but a lot of times I'll just still opt, in general, to go for just an old brush. They work an old, raggedy, frayed brush will work very, very well for dry brushing. Swing around here. Get another look at this model here. Still with the gray. No, it looks like he's added some blue to that shield. He's finally getting to that crest. See if we can get lucky enough for him to turn the crest to the shield. That's going to be the shield and the spear blade are going to be the big, I think, money defining features of this competition is what can you do to make that shield crest pop. And there's a couple different routes that one can go. I know when I painted up my Stormcast, I opted for the shields to be Roman Legion red, but with almost a marble texture on the crest on the front. So I'm very curious to see how they choose to set themselves apart here. And with that, we have crossed the 20-minute mark. There he as he's bringing in more for that shield crest. Can't tell as much from the camera, but when you're real close in, you can actually see that it's not just that face crest. There's the lightning bolt pattern that's going around it, and that's what he is very, very cautiously trying to highlight. And speak from experience, making sure that you don't get paint on the shield itself while maintaining that lightning bolt pattern on the crest is going to be really important. There we go. You can see he's adding the basing here to that model. Also very important, a very quick thing that people might forget about is painting the base of the model. And it looks like, again, he's going for that color shift pattern. Very interesting. Almost psychedelic in a way. Psychedelic, a little surreal. Although at second glance, he might be actually going for more of a swamp pattern and just using the paints that he's had. So since he had already gone for that kind of green hued color shift, using what he's got to build that swamp pattern. Really fascinated to see how this one turns out. He's opted for a silver for the trim. Very interesting. And we've seen some of the contestants make their own wash. So I'm curious to see with their wash shade layer how they go. Get the close-up. Oh, it looks like he's doing a verdigris on that helmet. Very, very cool. That rusted bronze look for the helmet. And then going for that stone. You can never go wrong with doing just a gray stone pattern for the base. That'll really make that model pop. Prevent it from just kind of blending in with the base. Definitely think that was a wise decision there. Will really help make it stand out, especially with that rusted bronze helmet. It's going to look really, really sharp once we finish out. Getting close to that last 15-minute mark. And that's one of the things we've seen some washes and we've seen some really interesting techniques as far as using that color shift and that wet blending, but we haven't seen a lot of edge highlighting or highlighting yet. And now is the time where we're really going to want to see some of that. Like I'm saying, I think that's what's going to really set apart the competition in this case is the sharpness of the edge highlighting. I know that's something that's always for me personally, that's always a big choice. Looks like we've got Keenan doing some mixing here. Let's see. How is he opting? I wonder what he's doing with that. Switch back over here. I really like the subdued color scheme there. And there he is. He's going in. Again, looks like he's... There it is, like I was talking, the edge highlighting. He's going in, he's correcting those mistakes, and he's sharpening up those features of that Stormcast. Definitely a good time to do that. Really interested to see the final models here. I think this is going to be a close race. You know, I've been really impressed with opting for color shift. That's a very bold choice, and he's done it very, very well. But I think it really could be anyone's game. What's he doing here? What's he doing? Wow. So he's using the paper towel as like a stippling dry brush to get that texture on that rock. Very, very clever move. Going to give them their 10-minute warning here in just a couple of minutes. Because again, as we enter this final section, this is what's going to set them apart. It's what they do here in this final 10 minutes. Looks like he's still adding some paint to the palette even in this. Again, I'm wondering, it looked like he added some paint and then some water droplets as well. So again, wondering if he's making a shade kind of the 11th hour. That's one of the things that's really interesting in the painting community is the effective use of shades and washes. I know I'm definitely pro shade and wash in general when they're used really, really effectively. But there are some risks, especially if you're doing any kind of competition painting as opposed to just table readiness. Washes do have a little bit of a mind of their own. They're just water with essentially diluted pigment in it. And because of that, gravity will actually pull them lower down on the models. And so there is definitely a risk that you run that. But with that, I'm actually going to bring over, returning for me, he is finished with his match, is actually going to be returning my co-host from Thursday, Justin. Justin, how you doing?
Dude, I am so tired right now.
I bet.
I'll commentate. Okay. I'll hang it out.
Yeah, so 1 hour rounds, that's tough.
Yeah,
That's really
no.
tough.
It's definitely tough. So we're actually doing, if you check out our monitor over here on the right
Speed
arm.
paint.
Yeah, we've got the speed painting competition.
Very nice, very nice.
So
yeah.
we've got some interesting stuff. I'm about to go over there and give them their 10-minute warning here in just a second. But we've got some color shift. And not with like the turbo dork paints, which like do the automatic color shift. Hand doing color shift. It's really cool.
Really?
Yeah, 45 minutes. So I'm really interested to see.
Color shift paints?
No, normal paints, but he's doing a color shift like effect.
Oh,
with,
like a gradient?
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's going from like green to yellow. So it's not just, like a wet blend, It's literally like a true color shift, but it's not metallic. It's really cool.
Wow. Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what that looks like.
I know.
Sure.
I'm really interested to see how it finishes out.
So it looks like Michael, that demon that he has, that thing is brutal, man.
Was it Bellicor or was it another? Because I forgot to ask him. He had mentioned it.
I think he called it the Bloodthirster or something like that.
Oh, just the regular Bloodthirster.
Yeah, well, it was scary enough to wipe 3 of my squads.
Oh,
that was the
wow.
only person I lost to today. I won 4-1. So, well, my last round opponent dropped. So maybe that doesn't count, but.
You definitely see that in these competitions, especially because you guys are going for like the number one.
Yeah.
10-minute warning for speed paint.
I learned a lot about Combat Patrol today.
It's a different beast.
It is totally different.
Yeah, no. When we did the Combat Patrol tournament and we had a much smaller. I think we only had 8 last year because the big tournament that we did at the last mini convention was Kill Team because they had just launched 2nd edition, like literally 3 weeks before. It's a totally different, like competitive. I mean, you don't see a lot of competitive Combat Patrol, but it's so, the scale and the balance is just so out there that literally like anything could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would. I think melee armies are the way to go.
Yeah.
If you have, if your army is good at melee, unless you play like Tau, a guard or something like that. It definitely, with the tiny tables, like melee is just the way to go.
Well, and part of it's, because you still have that same size of board when you're playing at 2,000 or when you're playing at 1,000 points, but there's just more bodies on the table. Yeah. So you can throw more chaff up the board to just slow stuff down.
Exactly.
And in Combat Patrol, every model counts.
Yeah, and if you have a 200-point blob of shooty guys and they get tied up turn 1 or 2, I mean, that's half your army gone.
Yeah.
That's basically what I learned today.
I remember when me and Orknick, when I first taught him how to play, this was, like beginning of ninth. Literally, like, no, it was end of eighth. No, it was beginning of ninth. It was literally right at the beginning of ninth. We had a game, and combat throw, especially that initial deployment is so important. If you can, like, a transport just does wonders.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we were playing, I remember the first game, he brought, it was like a squad of bikers, 2 squads of boys, and then like a boss, war boss, just regular.
Yeah.
And then maybe he might have had a death dread in there as well. He had some kind of more bigger armored unit. And then I was running like Space Marine Captain, Intercessor Squad, Incursor Squad, Invictor Tactical Warseat. Like, and I like, this is before orcs were T5.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And big difference. And it was like, literally, it was like turn 1. It was like just tabled. Like the first shooting phase, like he had lost like 400 points, and then like he got something into melee, and it was like over. And all we did was I swapped out his war bikes for a truck and just put his boys in the truck. It ended up being like a 5-point game. It was just totally like one model made that huge, and it was just a truck. Like,
jeez.
But like a truck makes a huge difference when the game type's like that. Now, obviously, works have changed quite a bit since then, but like...
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, T4 to T5 is a big upgrade for the orcs.
So we're coming into the last 7 minutes. Another 5-minute warning here in a sec.
For the speed paint.
Yeah, no. I'm really excited to see the final products. Again, they did some really clever... there's a couple really clever paint jobs. There's one with color ship, and there's one where he did he's doing like a bronze Stormcast, but the helmet's got that verdigris, like rusted bronze look to it. It's really sharp.
I think you've talked me into taking a little bit of a look over there real quick.
Oh yeah, definitely go over. Yeah, take a look.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a water too, man.
Yeah.
Good catching up with you, stream. Thanks for being here, everybody, and I'll catch you again maybe next league or something.
Yeah. Got 6 minutes to go. About to give that 5-minute warning. All right, looks like he's finishing out, putting in a wash. Oh my gosh, that is just a gorgeous model. What a strong way to finish, Keenan. Like I said, Keenan is painting that model there. He has been demoing a couple different games today, and he just kind of jumped in and, he said that he wasn't very good at painting, but clearly that's not the case. He's going to give them their 5-minute warning.
5-minute warning, speed paint.
That's going to be the other thing, is that making sure the models are dry. So wet paint on a model looks very different than dry paint on a model. Typically, your colors tend to dull out just a touch. So you can see them shaking their models, trying to get that air blowing through to vaporize it so it'll dry faster. Yes, the classic painting on the hand. I know that well. Very good way if you don't have dry paint. Really good way to get your paint into just regular paint dried out into a state where you can use it as like a dry brush paint. The classic painting on the hand method. Looks like he's finishing up the basing there.
So we have our secondary split. 3-minute warning. Speed pace. 3-minute warning.
Getting those final details in. It reminds me almost these speed painting contests. I've watched a couple of them streamed. They almost remind me. They've got the same spirit as something like a Food Network show, like a Master Chef or Iron Chef or Chopped. As you can kind of see the players like literally just coming into trying to get those last finishing details in. As that's going to again be that big deciding factor for a lot of these players is not just the techniques they use and the color schemes that they chose, but how sharp, how clean those models are going to get. And since we're doing a 4-person heat for this speed painting competition, I figured it'd be worth mentioning that the winner of this event will be receiving $15 for winning the event, and then the runner-up will receive $5. The players also do get to keep the model that they paint, so they get to go home with definitely a fun little prize and a memory of the day. Last year when we did the speed painting event, we had some players actually come in, and we had I think like 5 heats signed up, and we had one player compete in every single heat just because it was an economical way. If he won literally any heat, it was an economical way of building a squad of Stormcasts. Which not a bad idea if you don't care about the monopose model, but yeah, it was a pretty good way to just build out either a 5-man squad, which is the minimum squad, or a like Warcry warband. So that was kind of fun. Coming into the 1-minute mark.
Take landscape, raise banners, and
Coming in their final minute, you're going to see those final details coming in, and I think the key thing here is to not panic. It can be very, very easy to suddenly start to want to add a lot of little details here in the final moments, but I think we definitely see some confidence with a couple of the painters where they're confident in their work and they're calling it, they're cleaning their brushes, they're good to go. Definitely good to have that kind of confidence when you've got so much pressure. You're going to give them the 20-second warning. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10.
10 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And with that, I'm going to take a break away from the mic to take a look at the different paint schemes that we've got today and comment about what we see now. Once I get to see them real up close.
I'm below my 6 and 5. Is that what
He doesn't have any special heroic intervention.
Just a 3. Yep.
I was like, keep spinning. Strike profile and squat.
So beginning on 2 is weekend on 2.
This is sweep 2 or 3 damage?
3 damage with the plus. So even if you were to...
What's the AP?
3.
Strength 14. They have an arc point 5 up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, you're fine. I'm just playing sister, so it's like 6 something.
Yeah. I'll do 4 the first one. You said it's 9, right? I'll do 2 more. Basically, I'm kind of waiting for the source to see if I can.
Or like saying this was first.
7.
Then you can take it.
Oh no! So even if he dies, the sorcerer lives. That's. And the auto pass around with arcane auto.
I think he does mortal wounds in that phase, actually. I think on 4 this hasn't come up yet because he's killed everything in 1 turn. At the end of the fight phase, so you get the fight back first, and then it's on a 2 up, he does D3.
It's 5.
Oh, 5. I keep doing the opposite when I
It's plus. It's 3, 1, D3. All right, 1.
4.
D3. 2. Okay, 1. Oh my goodness, the hero sorcerer. Oh, wait, you said he does D3 mortals at the end of the fight phase? Is it just he does, or is there a roll for it? Of course.
It's a 3 up on character, or 4 up on character.
Okay. Let's see it. And it's D3, so you gotta have 2 pretty mediocre. This game is look, I'm sorry.
It's kind of okay.
It's not over because I have to actually perform. I actually have to put the damage on. And you do have a field open. It's a 5 up against everything, right?
Yep. Skill and combat, so you either have to pull back with the 1 unit.
Shoot with who?
Maybe Sarah.
They could just teleport out with Sorcerer's Facade, to be fair.
That's true.
I mean, I can't. I will just be able to see you. And then they're on the bottom floor, so I can't see them. Okay, yeah, so that's the end of your turn?
So I don't get kill more because I didn't kill anything. Oh, it's no, I went first. Yeah.
He's got to get out of here, so... Basically, I'm going to see if I can wound cap him on mortals, and then Sorcerer's Facade him out, or just we'll see what happens. Okay, so I go up to 4 CP. He's like mighty bigger than you, my boy. Here, and then I can just see his bigness, right?
What is this? I would say when I charge an attack, I miss like 4 attacks. Yeah.
And then they see him just lurking over the village. I can't technically resurrect if I roll a natural 9 or not. It's not the biggest use of my time. He's at 19 minutes. My so give up 1 smite, or just try to cast my way out. I think the safest thing is to fall back, get extra damage on the mortals, or on the mortals and the shooting, and give up 1d3 of smite. It gets him like right over here. Because he has to roll
So can he fall back in psychic?
No. That's what I'm saying, is I have to give up the psychic to do it. But I think I don't really want to I think the shooting is going to be worth it a little bit.
Yeah, you have to play 3 phases.
You have to minuses to hit everything?
That's what I'm about to do for going into the shooting phase. You have psychic, right?
Oh, right, you have to work. Well, I'm only asking because if I want to cast Presage or not, see how much you
So maybe I'll spend it, I don't know. It's in the shooting phase.
anything else to actually use it on. So I don't know. What do I do with this? Demon Prince.
They're in literally like the minis are in the entry slots.
Oh. Can we do it, or do we run? 7 Cabal points. That means I can either.
So if you line of sight before, you can still smite me because you can see.
Yeah, I can see.
All right, and I'm back. And if you take a look in chat, you will see that we do have a poll going right now for the best painted model.
Plus when the cast score, I choose
Good to see you, Sully. Yeah, no, some of these paint jobs are super, super nice. I did. We are, of course, on a little bit of a streaming delay, so I didn't realize that they had been set up for chat. So I had gone in and moved them a little bit, so you're going to see the back of my arm there. As we've got a lot of people voting in store as well. Yeah, so Dragon Mark 123. So essentially, they have a pool of paints. I want to say it's mostly army painter stuff, but they've got a big pool that they pick from. They build their palettes out of it, and then they just go. We're going to see if we can get another round going here in a second, and that will, shape a few. As voting wraps up, we'll come in and see. Definitely some great painted models today, though. I knew I threw my vote in the voting box, so we're going to get a couple more in there, and then we're going to tally them up and announce the winner here just shortly.
Switch out Sonic, which will give plus 2 strength, plus 1 attack. I will spend 1 more so I can down great sorcery, cast 1 more. I'll cast scroll by the
Say pulling back, get another angle on those, so you really get a good look at those shields. Give it another couple minutes, and then I'm going to start tallying up the votes as our speed painting event comes to close. We might do a second speed painting event today, just kind of depending on who all shows up and if some of our painters would like to have a second go at it.
That's 4 out of his count. No extra.
You have no CC, bastard.
Do something.
Yep, so I'll make him unfunded. I'm not sure how many Terminators can actually see me. I think we're only these two. I think this is actually truly line of sight blocking.
Okay, so then in that case, what I would have done is about walking. They were in this corner, right? Yep. They could have walked 5 inches this way. And I think we would have been able to see. Okay, but I did all this thing.
Let's go further.
You can't do actions if you fall back, right?
No actions.
We'll do the missile launcher. I think what I'm looking out is that I thought I was practice and then just survive.
It's going to come down to if how the slap back is by difference.
This is the soul. This is strength 6, so 5 plus 1 3 saves.
3 4-ups. Yeah, and it's just 1 damage on these? 5. I always forget if the sorcerer has a storm bolter or not.
It does on the turn.
Do you drop the, if you want to take he can take a sword. Does he drop the gun?
I would love to drop the stand.
Yeah, the staff is so awful. It only lets me down. Always roll a 1. The AP is awful.
He's been popping off for me. Normally he doesn't.
I think mine is like never killed anyone. I ran like the 20 or 25 Terminators before.
This would be 6.
Down to 5. So 3. Okay. So 1 damage.
So your guy is going to have a little bit of an awkward time with my game points because of his relic. Because you only allocate half your action.
Exactly, yeah.
So when does he bracket?
I think he's got 2 more wounds before he brackets.
Does he say he's 19? He's 20 wounds? He might bracket. He has 4
Brackets at 10.
Oh, brackets at 10? Okay, so that's 3 more wounds.
Yep.
I'll charge it again.
It's like almost failed, but not quite.
All right, and I'm back with David here. David was playing Blood Bowl at one of our tables, so I wanted to pull him over and just kind of get a little bit of information about Blood Bowl, since the game I'm not terribly familiar with, but it is one of the GW products out there. So, David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. So, Blood Bowl. It's basically it's like board game football, but with orcs and stuff.
It's fantasy football in the craziest way you can interpret that phrase. It takes place in this ridiculous alternate universe of the Warhammer Fantasy setting where during some ancient battle between the dwarves and the orcs, they discover a tomb of Nuffle where they see essentially the NFL Hall of Fame, and they find the rule book for American football and then completely misinterpret it in the worst way possible.
So it literally is like American football. It's not rugby.
It's a ridiculous interpretation of American football. Yes.
Gotcha. So what factions? So it's mostly, is it old world factions or is it more like Sigmar factions?
It's primarily old world. The IP dates back to the hardcore fantasy setting. So there's no Sigmarites or anything of that nature.
Gotcha. So in general, if someone was jumping into a game of Blood Bowl, around how long does a game last?
A typical game consists of two halves. A half, in my experience, usually takes about an hour, maybe hour and a half. So a full game takes up a majority, like a big full game is if you're new, probably 3 hours if you're learning the rules. But if you're fast and you know what you're doing, you can get through a game in probably hour and a half, 2.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was curious to know because it's a fairly low model count, like compared to big 40K.
Correct.
What, like 20 models ish?
20 models. So if you have your own team and you have 20 models is the upper range that you could possibly need and have absolutely everything you would want for your own team. So Nuffle's holy number is 11. That means you have 11 people on the pitch, just like American football. So your base team, like say you get a starter box for humans, you would get 12 guys, you get a few tokens, and so that would give you enough players to put on the pitch for a full team and have a reserve. But your model count can go up to 16. That's what's legally allowable on a roster. So theoretically, the upper limit's around 16.
Okay. And then generally, so obviously we're in here playing just with a group of friends, like it wasn't like an organized play thing. If someone in the St. Louis area wanted to get into like organized play, where would they go?
So actually, fun fact, just today, the Games Workshop in Chesterfield is starting the league. And to my understanding, Game Night in Crestwood has done leagues in the past, and I'm fairly certain that there are some Blood Bowl players here at Miniature Market. So all three of the main game stores, well, chances are you can find somebody who will play Blood Bowl, especially in Chesterfield.
Nice. Well, thanks for jumping on stream with me today.
Thanks.
Say, definitely appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you playing Blood Bowl here in the future.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
Well, I learned something today. I thought I was a Games Workshop expert, but I did not actually know that they literally found the NFL playbook. I did not know that Blood Bowl had like straight lore to it. So I learned something today. That's exciting. Maybe in the future we will have a Blood Bowl Super Bowl event. Maybe we'll see. We'll have to just see in the future what that's going to look like. Take a look in chat. Looks like we've got quite a few voting for that, for number 3 there, pulling ahead with the 3 votes. I'm going to go over now and start to do the final tally for the winners, and I'll ultimately announce our winner.
If you would have just stayed really far behind, but like no matter where you go, trying to edge out, eventually I get something. And then
So it's like if you only get the rubrics,
that's right.
that's fine.
You probably should have just let me stay stuck there or something and then move this way. Or like teleported. You should have teleported something like that. Yeah, that was definitely one. Definitely should have scheduled someone over here.
Because it's like if I teleport here, all the Terminators see them anyway. Yeah. This was just one of those games where it's like you make one mistake and the game's over because my momentum is gone and you gained 11 victory points just for killing that guy.
It's super crazy. It's super like.
It's like a samurai duel kind of game, you know? Just done.
Super rapid fire. In and out.
I was not prepared. I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, there's a corn demon player. I'm not even gonna look at the. I didn't even look at the list. So I woke up. I'm like, your army's actually just the bloodthirster and the guy.
It's the weirdest because like my secondaries have to be like so. Well, I have to take Killboard, and then everything else is like that. I hope my opponent somehow gives it to me, or there's like a good mission objective. Because I keep doing Gage, I don't have nothing to second to, and line break.
The first mission is so good for you. You just like walk into your deployment zone, get 15 points.
My last game, if it hadn't been that, I lost. And that's not as bad. I thought I stumbled my way to injury. There was one played GSC, and he moved his bikes up, shot everything until my unit of letters. They should have died. Had no reason to live. He killed like 2 of them, and then they came back to life, and that was it. Like if that hadn't happened, I would have never been able to do primary. I would have had one model.
Yeah, it's like we just because I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, he can juice some damage. You're gonna statistically knock a third of it off. So it's like I should have just done the math because I don't actually have the mortals. I don't. Losing him to not cast. Okay, well maybe I don't fall back. I just keep casting, and then you sit here and you're like, okay.
I would have killed him in my fight phase.
Actually, wait, because those half attacks you can't allocate to the demon. I would have just attacked into that guy. Yeah.
It would have just been better, right? Because if that would have happened, I would have killed the demon, killed him, and that would have had the less seconds for me to play with.
It was the same like if you had lost your guy, that would have kind of just been like
exactly. And that was the thing I was scared about. It's like, out of everyone here, was probably the only person who could deal with if every stuff went right. Because between the shooting, you had the Demon Prince to try to get some damage after the fight phase.
And the point with the Demon Prince, at least from looking at this, I don't actually have to kill the Bloodthirster, but I have to bracket him. If I bracketed him even once, I think that would have...
It brings me from 12 to 10.
Doesn't it lower your weapon skill too?
Weapon skill is well, so hitting with 3s instead of 2s.
It doesn't lower your strength, does it? No, it's movement, weapon skill, attacks. All the important bits. And then if you don't kill him, and you're kind of limping, then I can teleport away and just...
Exactly. If you get him even forward, he's only moving 8 inches. It's just like he's never by anybody. You will ignore him for the rest of the time.
Dang, that's crazy that it was just like really close.
I know, it's really, that's all. Super.
That's kind of the problem with 5 points, but it's fun.
You can stumble you can like stumble reroll. I like it better. This is my first event, so
yes.
I'm waiting for
like I'm sitting here and I'm like, this Demon Prince is really expensive for what he does, but I wanted all my units to be good, and I needed something for my opponent to be scared of in melee.
Yeah, I don't know what else you take, because like, what do? You just start, you take it and something, do you have enough points to it's like maybe you can take some spawn, but I don't think that's great. I mean, it's good for holding the board as well.
Yeah, I could get cultists, which are screens. Because if I had cultists here, I could just put them in front, and it's like, take my cultists. I'm going to get extra turns of just laying in here. Another thing was I could have probably chose to go first and just got all my buffs up, because a 4-up invul in these rubric greens makes things a little more complicated. I could sap strength out of you, like a malediction if I wanted to go that route. Because I think there's a power to have charge rolls. No, that's a cult specific power. But
there's a corner demons on
not if you use your 3 points to get shooting. There's a lot of arguments for all of it, but it was just very tight, like all these decisions. Like, deploying my rubrics that close. Like, if everyone was just here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Yeah, I almost did charge. I almost went backwards. I almost, like, took the Bloodthirster, moved it back, so you would have to move it.
but that's the thing. I picked secondary to where I don't have to.
That was the thing. What is that?
10 points on banners. Yeah, 10 points on banners, 6 points on mutate landscape. And then I'm going to get a 10 on primary, and you're a 10 on primary. We're equal. We're not scoring your secondary. That would have cost you. Maybe not cost you the game, because you would have lost one turn of doing it. So like, oh no, come back. My guys
Makes me feel a little bit better about my record.
5, 7. He's just. Like, so if you go against any like combat, he's like holding his own one. Demon Racer juggles. Actually, that's a horrible matchup because they're one phase. I will score.
Should have just tried to like spread out and then like wrapped around taking like letters and then tried to just ignore the blood pressure on the turn. But didn't have that. It's one of the just slash back until the
You don't play with the blood letters. That's why it wasn't just like running over to them because it's like my rubrics are fine. Like, they're not. If I can get the charge on you, we'll pick them up. But like otherwise, I'd rather just you would stay away.
first game was obvious. Like a melee works that has some shooting breezes. And that turn is like
So it looks like you're going to win best general and most bloody warlord. I'm fighting for best general. My what's the fourth?
That's warlord. That's going to win.
I can see those. Check those blood letters. Oh, those dark angels. I put the little brimstones on it. This is like I love the tail that it gets. This is a pretty specific tail. And when I first saw the bird head, I never liked it. And then I saw it painted, and I'm like, that's all yours. Oh, is this yours?
Not enough to fire twice.
I was kind of with them when I got into the space over here, and then I saw him in person when I saw the space. It's just that
Any of this was
I wonder if they still have that gap. That was a big problem, right? So you're minus one man close to
they do that one. That was So what's your plan on traveling?
And I am back. So we just announced our winner. It ended up being number 2, I believe, was the one that ended up winning. Was number 2.
It was worth me charging in the trade.
So like that's gonna be the last one because he runs over here. So I'm gonna make sure. Yeah.
You're the one better too.
All right, so as we come into the final part of our mini convention, we've got a few events that are still going to be wrapping up, and I've got one more interview I'm going to be doing today. I'm actually going to be bringing over Andrew. So for those of you who had followed along the last couple weeks and have followed along with the Cave Springs, I run the streams over at Cave Springs, and then I also run a lot of the 40K Games Workshop related events over at the Cave Springs location. Andrew happens to run things over here in the DePere location, so wanted to get us both on the channel and kind of talk about the community and what is next for Miniature Market 40K, whether it's here, whether it's at Manchester, what we are hoping to accomplish as we move forward this year. And move forward into 10th edition, and what exactly what are our long-term goals as we kind of move forward. So we are definitely really excited. Very exciting day here at the DePere Miniature Market. Very fun way to close out the day with that speed paint competition. We've had the Combat Patrol competition, which we heard from Justin earlier talking about his experience in the Combat Patrol competition. We heard from Damon, of course, talking about Wrath and Glory and the sessions that he was running today with his group. We've heard a little bit from already forgotten his name, the Blood Bowl community, who had come over and talked to us a little bit about Blood Bowl. So very exciting to be able to see all of the happenings and going-ons in the community thus far. Glad to have you all with us in chat today as well. We definitely do apologize for our late start today. We were having all kinds of technical difficulties, but we were able to push through, and the machine spirit was with us today as it fought off the nasty obliterator virus that was causing our technical woes. So we are very, very thrilled that we were still able to bring you this stream today. And I think in general we have had a good time doing so. Once again, if you like what you're watching today and you've liked the content that we've been able to bring to you, do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check out the bit.ly link in the description. That'll take you to the Miniature Market website. Miniature Market is, of course, who are one-stop shop for board games, hobby supplies, and, of course, Games Workshop products as well. We are very excited that we're able to bring you this content, of course, Miniature Market being our hosts and providing the outlet on this channel for us to be able to celebrate the hobby through events like the Miniature Market Games Workshop mini convention and, of course, the mini leagues that we participate in. So I know that Andrew is wrapping up his last game of the Combat Patrol tournament. He's got one round left, and then he's going to be popping over here. So very much looking forward to talking to him about what he's got going on. I know we had spoken a little bit earlier, and I know that they've been running a Crusade League. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, at the Cave Springs store, we just finished out our Narrative League. But Crusade is another form of narrative play that operates with a little bit different rules than what we had constructed over there. So I definitely am interested to get his opinion on, how to run a Crusade League, what that looks like for the players, what that looks like for the event organizers. Very excited to be able to bring you that today. And for those of you following along in chat, if you've been watching us throughout the day or have possibly stayed with us for the entirety of the day, tell us what your favorite event that you've watched before. What was your favorite event? What was your favorite interview? And was there anything that you were most interested in checking out as we kind of come to a close for today's events? Kind of thinking back to our brief interview with Justin, who has functioned as my co-host last week for the Narrative League. If anyone has ever played in a back-to-back tournament like these Combat Patrol tournaments, we did a Combat Patrol tournament last year, which we only did 3 rounds for, as opposed to the 5 rounds that the players today were going through. it's brutal. Even just a 3-round is brutal because of the speed and pace that you have to maintain to keep the game going. And they were keeping pretty strict time clocks for today's event. So that is one of the things that's really interesting, is that, when that 45 minutes is done, and 45 minutes seems like a long time to play this game when you're only moving maybe 4 or 5 units around the board. It's not a lot of time. Even 2.5 hours for experienced players can be daunting when you're participating in high-level competition play. You really have to know your rules. You really have to have a game plan coming in. And you really have to understand the ebb and flow of the game. So, of course, with 2,000 points, you see a lot of potential for comeback. Again, looking back at our last Narrative League week, we saw a big comeback after a pretty brutal alpha strike between David and Mike. But because you've got that extra cushion of points, you can recover more easily when something goes wrong. But with Combat Patrol, not as easy. Definitely not as easy to come back from. One crucial model being lost at the wrong time can really cripple you from the game, and that's something that we definitely saw today in some of our matches. I know, obviously, we were only able to focus in on 2 of the 5 rounds, but it was definitely something as I was going around from table to table, kind of getting the feedback from the players in their various matches. That was definitely something that we looked at time and time again. We heard, yeah, man, I lost my, my Terminator squad, or I lost my Demon Prince, or I lost my Dreadnought. You lose that crucial model early on, and it can be really, really tough to come back from something like that. So, definitely something, a component to think about. See Connor jumping into chat. Yeah, so I'm obviously on like a 2-minute delay, Connor. Apocalypse. Let me respond to you. Apocalypse question mark? In what regard, Apocalypse? So while I wait for the response there, that is one thing that we do run from. We have several Apocalypse events throughout the year. So for those of you who aren't aware of what Apocalypse 40K is, it's actually kind of a loose term that generally refers to any game with more than 10,000 points per army. And there's a lot of different formats of the game that you can kind of go with. You can typically play with the standard rules for, whatever edition you're playing in, whether it's 9th edition, 8th edition. But there are additionally some other rules that have kind of been developed to help with the flow of Apocalypse in general. Because really, the game of 40, the 9th edition 40K specifically, but really just kind of like base vanilla 40K, really designed for that like 1,000 to 3,000 point range as far as maintaining, a balanced game. When you get into the upper echelons of points and you get to 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000, the game can break down pretty hard just because there's so much on the board and there's so much happening that it can become very hectic, very chaotic very quickly. And so I know that's something that with the Apocalypse events that I have organized in the past, it's definitely... Oh, yeah. Apocalypse is the coolest event. Oh, yeah. So that actually is a really interesting conversation. I definitely like to have, I think in a future event, if we do an Apocalypse live stream like this, or just in a more roundtable discussion, I'd really be interested because I've helped organize 3 different Apocalypse events, and I've played in a couple Apocalypse events myself. Actually, I've only played in, now that I think about it, I've only played in one Apocalypse event. The rest I have either I've been on more the organizing side, but I've talked to a couple other people who have run Apocalypse events here around St. Louis, and then also, there's of course like Adepticon, which has an Apocalypse event, and there's a Gateway Open, which is here in St. Louis, and how they choose it. And it's really interesting because since there is no, aside from like the older Apocalypse rules, there is no right or wrong way to run Apocalypse. And when I've run Apocalypse at either location, we've run it at both locations. Generally we're looking at between 30,000 to 50,000 points. And so I try to plan for around that, because when you get that many people in a room with that many models, it becomes absolutely hectic. But it is so cool to see the board, especially right there at the beginning, especially if the majority, if not all of the models are painted. We really do try to do our best to encourage having fully painted armies. So that's definitely something that it's a pleasure to see when we bring the camera across and you get to see all those models, especially when you get to see those big Titanic units that are, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 point models that you can't play in a normal game. It's really cool to be able to see that. Again, up next, we are going to be having an interview with Andrew. He was the 40K event organizer here at Manchester. I know he's wrapping up his game now, so we're going to have him here in probably about 5 minutes. Kind of back to I'm curious. I think Andrew ran an Apocalypse event recently here as well, so I'm really interested. This will be kind of good dialogue to have. I'm really curious to see the approach that he takes. What I found within the community that's definitely a point of discussion is when you play a game that's that big, and especially if you don't have a two-day time span, because big Apocalypse is typically played over the course of 2 days, if not 3 days. We've traditionally only had about a 10-hour window. And so finding ways to streamline the game, but also still have that big scale where you're able to play with, 40, 50,000 points per army. Something that we've opted for and has, I think, generally worked fairly well, is that if a player brings something that's like a Lord of War unit, or like a God engine unit, which I think all God engines are Lord of Wars, but not all Lords of War for God engines kind of thing. If they bring one of those kinds of models, it doesn't count towards their like point cap. And that's definitely helped, because it is hard to keep track of some of the stuff when you get to that point. But that is kind of something that I know some other people have discussed, where they do not have limits. There are some events here in St. Louis where you can just bring whatever. And then I know that there was another couple events that have happened semi-recently where they actually had a smaller point cap than I typically run. And so their total points were like 20,000 versus 20,000. So again, it's a really interesting point of conversation when you look at how to keep the game flowing and what's going to be most effective, most fun, and most balanced. No, I really do hope I get to play in the next one. So the last Apocalypse event we had, it was like record turnout. I think we had 14 players. It was like 50,000 points per army. We had players from all over Missouri drive in. It was a really, really cool event. But man, it's a lot for one person. It's a lot for one person to organize. So I'm really hoping going in the future, we've got some really cool ideas for the next event. We don't have a date set for it. I would wager, keep an eye out in the next 3 or 4 months is when we'll probably be holding the next event. We've got some really cool ideas, and I'm hoping that with any luck, I will be able to jump in on the next event. Something else to kind of keep in mind, we are also, obviously, today is a celebration of the Games Workshop products and 40K, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Wrath and Glory, all of these different products, all from the Games Workshop IPs. One thing that we're definitely looking at going forward, we've got a bunch of different streaming events that we're going to be featuring. I know recently we've had the Infinity Grand Championship. That was a really cool event. I did not commentate for that one. I know very little about how to play Infinity, but it's a very cool game. I wish I had the time, energy, and intelligence to learn another game. But that was a really cool one, just seeing the models in the terrain at these, like, at the high echelons of play be brought in. Very cool to see. And then I know another really successful streams that we've been having is BattleTech. A game I am definitely a fan of. I own several of the rule books. I own way more BattleTech models than I really have any right owning. But a really fun game to jump in. You can pretty much jump in with just 1 or 2 starter boxes and have a full army ready to go if you're wanting to learn Alpha Strike, or if you're wanting to learn kind of classic BattleTech. It's a more complicated game, but much more in depth. Very, very cool. Very cool game, and I know that those streams have been very well received. We're definitely looking to do more BattleTech coming to you in the future. We will see about having unrestricted points next time. Again, the big thing with when we run the 40K events with Miniature Market, space is just a huge issue. Whether we're running here or Cave Springs, we can only fit so many people in the building and not shoot the temperature through the roof and blow out all of our eardrums with volume. But I'm definitely not opposed to increasing the point cap, or finding some kind of way to streamline the game so that the point cap can be increased. That is one thing I've been kind of mulling over. We've talked at length at some of our other streams about the approaching 10th edition of 40K, and of course there's a lot in the rumor mill that's out there about what 10th edition 40K is going to be and what that looks like in general for the game. But I know a lot of rumors out there, whether true, whether not, whether credible, have talked a lot about the game being streamlined and them really trying to cut back on the amount of times that you have to roll dice, not necessarily the amount of dice that you have to roll. And so that's kind of something that I have been looking at, and I think is kind of interesting. When you look at something like Apocalypse, which is a big scale, big complicated scale game that functions best when you are able to scale back a little bit. I'm really curious to see how 10th edition facilitates that style of play. And then on the reverse side, I'm really curious to see how 10th edition facilitates something like a Combat Patrol tournament where you've got that small table play as well. Excuse me. I'm going to take a quick break from the mic, and I will be back momentarily. So, real quick, I do want to bring on another guest before we get started with Andrew. Andrew's wrapping up his game right now, but I actually want to bring on Keenan, who was helping facilitate some of our demos today, as well as the winner of the paint competition.
I don't know how.
It was good.
I joined because I know I'm a bad painter, and I was like, I'm going to do this and make everybody else look good. And I think I just went so bad, it looped around and became the best.
I was gonna say now, like that was a really solid paint job. Just like like that was table ready.
Oh, okay. Neon green for the win.
So, obviously you helped today. We worked together to get to that Kill Team demo early in the day, and then you've been running 40K demos as well.
Yes.
So one of the things I wanted to bring you on today, obviously this is the Games Workshop mini convention, but one of the things that we had talked about earlier when we brought Damon on was we were talking about Wrath and Glory, which is obviously RPG. Now, in the RPG sphere, you're going to be working on something, and you'd like to tell us more about that.
So Miniature Market's actually decided to create a D&D-esque RPG stream. So in in like a month or so, we're going to be actually streaming a campaign that I will be running as the Dungeon Master, because somebody higher up than me has decided to give me, the insane person, the will to this just great system. So yeah.
So I know obviously we don't want to spoil too much about what's coming up with that campaign. So what at this point could you necessarily, if there was anyone watching who maybe wanted a primer on what that RPG campaign is going to be, what can you tell us?
Okay, so essentially what I can tell you is it's not going to be like other streams that you've seen. We're not going to be like, our whole goal is to just show anyone can play D&D. So if you are in the St. Louis area and you actually just want to come out and participate and do this kind of stuff, start showing up on Wednesday nights here at the Miniature Market in Manchester. Because we're going to be, we're actually just going to be grabbing some people there to do guest stars for each week. And it'll be, each week, we'll be doing like a kind of a new mission for the specific guild that our party members will be a part of. And if you think that you just want to participate and show the world that anyone can play D&D, this is going to be the stream for you.
And so I know, so Wednesday nights is Dungeons and Dragons, or RPG night.
Yeah.
So they kind of move away from just the Dungeons and Dragons, because it's anything.
Yeah.
I know I've participated with the Fallout RPG in the past. So with Wednesdays being the RPG night here at Manchester, what time would be the best? If someone was a brand new player, never played before, what time would they want to show up? And is there anything they need to be prepared for to bring?
So here's the thing: if you have no experience playing any RPGs, you have the correct amount of experience that we're looking for. If you have all of the experience and you DM'd for the last 20 years, you have the correct amount of experience we're looking for. So if you just want to show up and roll dice, we do ask that if it's your very first time playing, to get there at least by 5:30, just so we can help you if you need to build a character or anything like that. And also just to find you a table, because we are very open. So everything is open play. We will, like, my goal in life is anybody who shows up who wants to roll dice is going to be able to roll dice. And so that's all we really ask is, you at least get here by 5:30 and we start rolling at 6.
Nice. And with that as well, so we had Damon on earlier, and Damon, facilitates over at the Cave Springs location. So if you can't do Wednesdays, or if you're not in the DePere area, we definitely recommend also coming over and checking out the Cave Springs location over in St. Peter's.
Yeah.
Same time, but it's on Mondays.
Mondays, yes.
And it's kind of the same. I mean, we try to keep it consistent, where if you're a brand new player, try to show up a little early. We will typically have something there for you. I know, I'm wrapping up my campaign that I run there now. Of course, saw you last week there.
Oh yeah, I jump around between the two.
So definitely a really open community there if you're interested in learning RPGs. And actually, at the speaking of Monday nights, they do actually have Wrath and Glory over there.
Yeah, they do.
We've got a guy who's been running the last couple of weeks, so. If what Damon talked about earlier regarding Wrath and Glory, if that seems appealing to you, definitely come in. I know he's doing a lot of pre-gens, but he's allowing people, if they know what they're doing, to jump in. Have you ever played Wrath and Glory?
I have not. I tried getting into it with the RPG demo day that we had here last month, but unfortunately, I ended up not being able to do that one. However, that's something that I've always been interested in, both playing in and running, since I've got that forever DM curse going on.
It's a fun system. I've played it a couple times.
So good. It looks so good.
It gets the scale of 40K. No matter what tier you're playing at, you feel like when we played last time I was playing as a Terminator captain.
Yep.
We're doing tier 4, and you feel like you are unstoppable when you're at that tier. But when you're at the lower tiers, man, you feel it's really cool.
Yeah.
So, Keenan, always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you.
And with that, we are going to move over. It looks like Andrew is available, so I'm going to go grab him, and we are going to finish out the stream kind of talking about the 40K community in general. And here he comes. He is on his way over. So this is, of course, Andrew, who helps run the 40K events over at the DePere location market. Andrew, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing all right. So, how'd you do in the tournament?
Well, time was my biggest enemy. I went 3-2, but had I had more time, it would have been 5-0.
And you were playing. What army were you playing today?
I was playing orcs.
Orcs, okay.
Blood axes, yes.
Gotcha. No, I remember looking around. We saw. We've had a lot of 3-2. It makes sense for this style of tournament.
Right. Yeah.
Who ended up winning? I didn't actually check.
Like the tournament as a whole?
Yeah.
It was our Corn Demon player. I don't remember. I don't know his name.
Is it Mike? Michael? Rose?
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
Gotcha. I would say I think he was playing. I can't remember if he was playing Chaos Unbound or if he was playing Core. No, it was definitely Core because he had the blood letter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a pretty brutal pick, but but also risky. The wrong matchup would have just wiped him off the board.
I considered bringing Slanesh demons, but I figured that the orcs would have been more consistent.
Gotcha. So I wanted to bring you over because you run events over here at the DePere location.
Yes.
So in general, kind of tell us what's going on here as far as your 40K events over here.
So right now we're just running Crusade. We started out with a lot of orc players in our Crusade, so the theme of it is it's an orc system that the other factions are trying to claim for their own. But the community here is new. It's not the first time that there's been a Warhammer community here, but the one that we have now, the one that I'm in charge of, is new, about a year or so. But we've only been doing organized play for about 6-8 months, and no problems. Everyone's been having fun. It's been steadily growing. I would say month to month we net grow players, not lose players. And I'm just trying to build the community as much as possible and see what all's out there to do.
So you said you were doing Crusade play, and I know we talked about that a little bit earlier. So for someone who might not be, say, brand new to the game, What does Crusade play look like as opposed to like what we saw here today, which was match play?
So one of the biggest differences you're going to notice is people are going to have pens and paper, people are going to have laptops, people are going to have things to write down information with throughout the entire game, because you have to keep track of how each individual unit is doing. And unlike match play, each unit is unique, and they level up just like any other role-playing game. And as they level up, they gain traits, they gain relics, which are stronger weapons and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I mean, it's mostly the same. Just a slight variation, and also with it being narrative, it adds in a lot more room for homebrew mechanics, homebrew missions, like just a bunch of create your own stuff.
So I guess with that, before you jumped on, I was having a conversation with some people in chat about Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. So have you ever run Apocalypse?
I have not. It's the plan. That's kind of where the Crusade is leading towards. Just one massive orc feed, whoever. But we're looking to see where the Crusade goes, because the way it's looking, based off of who's continuing to play and who's dropped and everything, the narrative may end in the orcs die, and we actually successfully take over the system. But that is the plan, is to work up towards a large game, especially with as many orcs as we had. I mean, at one time we had 4 orc players.
Oh wow!
I think currently we have one consistent one that is still coming all the time and is gaining experience points a lot. But other than that, there is 2 others. They just haven't been as consistent.
And so, what time, what night typically do you guys play here?
So we're just like you. We are Tuesdays. I think official time is 5 or 6, but we usually start about 4:30.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I got for you today. I just wanted to make sure that you had a chance to plug any events that were upcoming and let people know that there is 40K happening here.
Yeah, for sure.
As well. I know it's been really cool just in general. Obviously, like with Cave Spring Store, Cave Spring Store didn't exist 2 years ago, so we worked really hard to build that, but it's been really cool to also see the store here grow and to have that community, because your guys' Discord's huge. Mm-hmm. You've got, 50, 60 members? Something like that?
Well, last I checked, it's getting close to 60.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big Discord.
Yeah, I mean, the way I build it is just, anytime I see anyone on the GW wall or, see anybody walk in the game room on Tuesdays, I immediately walk over and say, hey, are you interested? Or, hey, do you play Warhammer? Are you in the area? Come check it out. Because I would pride myself on the fact that we have a very open, welcoming community over here, and I don't think we have not scared anybody away.
That's good.
So
I know it's something that, how long have you been playing 40K just in general?
4.5, 5 years.
Okay, yeah. I was just curious because I know, because I played in the War Machine community before I hopped over at the tail end of 7th, going into 8th, and then I played 2 games, and I jumped in at the tail end of 8th, and then I've been playing 9th. So probably about same-ish amount of time. That is one thing that when we had started our community over at Cave Springs, and I don't know if it's been, I mean, it definitely is the same, because you said it's been a lot of new people. That was what we found, is that, we had some guys like David and Mike and guys who've been they've been in the community forever. They do the tournament scene. You get guys like Nick Rappel, who, he's everywhere. The dude literally plays, if there's 40K at a table, he's playing it. But that was something that we found really quickly, was that it was a lot of new people who, in the area, they had never, always lurked, never played, never had that opportunity to jump in. And it's been really cool because I know when I first started doing wargaming in general, it almost like even if it wasn't hostile remotely, it feels like a lot to jump into because I mean, one, you've got the time and money commitment, but it's like it's a big game.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the rule book is over an inch thick.
Yeah.
The fact that each army has their own rule book is a little daunting, for sure. But once you get into it, once you start playing it, it really all kind of clicks. And you know, what matters most is that you're enjoying it. It's definitely not a game where you should play to win. If you are wanting to play to win, you're going to spend a lot more money than someone that isn't playing to win. And I think that's also another reason why we have a lot of players that kind of stick around is because none of us really do that. I could say at most we've had like maybe one or two, like what would be considered meta lists ran in any of our games. Otherwise, it's been whatever we think is cool, whatever think we, the rule cool is the number one rule here. So,
yeah, definitely. Say, I'm trying to think if there was anything else I kind of want to touch on. I know that we discussed a little bit earlier, and obviously a big part of it's going to be getting kind of calendars in touch and getting in sync. I know definitely kind of the flip side. We had talked a little bit just candidly about competitive play and what that means, and obviously like competitive combat patrol is it's its own beast. But one of the things that I think will be really cool now that especially there are like solid communities, because like you said, like there was a community here and then it just kind of disappeared. And I remember when that happened because we had just had our like inter-store tournament after like a big league, and then it just happened that way. There wasn't, I don't think there was any specific reason. It was just that's what happened.
There was some specifics that I'm not going to divulge. It's not my place to put it out there.
But that is one of the things that now that we've got these communities, and here, I mean, it was a good mix of people from the other store, people from this store. I mean, like this event, I think was a really good one for bringing people from both sides of the river. So I definitely am hoping that we can do more in the future and do.
Yeah. Everyone I talked to about it said it sounded awesome, sounded interesting. Everyone showed interest. So it's something that we definitely need to talk to the guys here and. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, real quick before we're going to kind of wrap up here, I didn't know if you wanted to get your Discord, we can put it in chat real quick. Because I know I promote our Discord every week when I do the streams, but obviously if we've got 2 Discords for each location, we need to get them both in there. So I'll pop that in chat. And I think we'll be able to retroactively put it in the description too. So when we start doing live streams, we'll put both these Discords in there for anyone who's wanting to come here. So, but looking forward to it. Looking forward to see where this goes.
Yeah.
So
I am definitely looking forward to this. I mean, it's been a learning experience for me. It's definitely not my first club that I've run. I've run clubs before, but. This is the first one that I think has really gone somewhere.
Well, and I definitely think it's a testament. Like, obviously, we have some preference here, being here at Miniature Market and doing the live stream and doing all that. But in general, just with the staff at no matter what store you're at, the amount of promotion and support that they give these communities, and the platform and the resources to be able to do this is. Absolutely, it's incredible, and we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for what the stores bring. Obviously, like we've got some preference because we do it here, so we're gonna sing their praises until they kick us out.
Right.
But it is really cool to see that and to have that. So we've got for those of you who are interested, we have added the link to the Discord in chat, and we're going to put it in the description retroactively. So if you see a big boost, we'll be promoting that kind of going forward. So, well, it was great meeting you today. I know we're going to definitely be working together going forward,
yeah, for
so
sure.
It'll be exciting.
And on Discord, we can probably also storyboard as well. I'd be down to collaborating in that way as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, just let me know.
Sounds good. Thanks for being on.
Yeah. No problem.
All right, folks, and with that, today's events are coming to a close. We have done it. We have gone through the day. We have had our different events. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, share us on your socials if you feel so inclined. We are thrilled to be able to bring you this content. We look forward to bringing you content in the future. Like I said, keep an eye out for. Keenan's going to be running that Dungeons and Dragons stream. Keep an eye out for future 40K events. And then as well, I actually did just get notice that there is going to be, we were having that discussion about Apocalypse, and I did just get notice that there is going to be an Apocalypse event over at the Cave Spring store. That is going to be April 29th. It's going to be an all-day event, so definitely something to keep in mind. Keep an eye out for if we start seeing the advertisements for that. Rules to come with that. We will make sure that you guys get all of the rules as we get them as far as what's going to be restricted for army building and all of that. But with that, that's it. Those are the day's events. I was glad that I was able to spend this time with you guys, and definitely keep an eye out for the next stream. I am signing off. Have a great weekend, you guys.